hello. Happy World
Hello.
Book Day and happy International Women's Month. And what better way is there to celebrate than in the company of some truly inspirational, creative goddesses right here. In today's first of a kind roundtable discussion, we are joined by an amazing group of women authors, each of which have had to overcome adversity to bring their creative works to life and enrich the world we live in, not just for us, but also for the planet and, of course, the animals. To everybody joining us today from around the world, I know we're from quite far-flung places. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. The goal of this event is to give each of you the opportunity to have your questions about writing and publishing vegan fiction answered, and in the process, learn about some fantastic award-winning books and their authors. So if you're an aspiring writer, you have come to the right place. We'll start by going around our metaphorical roundtable and then jump into a Q&A. So please feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat throughout the show, and we will do our best to answer them. And I'll do my best to keep an eye on the questions and everything coming in. So before we start, I would love for our guests to briefly introduce themselves and who you are, where you're from, and your books to look out for. Who is going first?
Shall I start? Yeah,
oh,
I can start. Cool, thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's very exciting. If we have some technical glitches, sorry, but you know, we're doing our best. And so I'm Maya. I write under the pen name MC Ronan. I'm from New Zealand, and I've written the Liberation trilogy, The Shed, Liberation, and It Was in Our Hands. I'm a multi-award-winning author. I got several awards for this trilogy, and it was compared to the George Orwell's 1984, which was a great compliment. And another book coming up. Maybe we'll talk about it later. I'll pass the baton to Whitney.
Hi, I'm Whitney Metz. I'm from West Virginia in the U.S. I wrote the Black Magic series. I'm still kind of working on it now. I've got 4 books out currently in the series, and I'm working on the 5th one. I've been vegan for half my life now, and it's really important to me to kind of include veganism and environmentalism and animal rights stuff in my work.
Wonderful. Ray, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So, hey everyone, lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm from Essex in the UK, and I'm a newbie vegan. I've only been vegan for about 5 years, but something that might resonate with some of you guys as well. When I went vegan, it wasn't enough for me. I just thought I need to do something else. I want to help in some other way, but I don't have millions of pounds. And I thought, what can I do? And I'm pretty good at writing, so I thought I'd write a story. I wrote the Earthlings trilogy. Earthlings is out at the Dominion, launched last year, and the final book within the trilogy, Land of Hope and Glory, is out later this year. I'm just finishing it at the moment, and I can't decide how to end it. Oh, it's the hardest bit. Who do I kill off? Who do I not kill off? But yeah, and then once this trilogy is finished, I'm going to be writing a duology based on like the oppression of kind of nature-based people throughout time and how our world has kind of detrimented since then. And I've got loads of other ideas going on as well. So yeah, I'm so glad I closed my business to do this. Vegan fiction is now my thing, and I'm so excited to be here with other vegan fiction authors. So yeah.
Wonderful. Look forward to hearing more about that. Suli.
You need to unmute yourself, Suli. At the bottom down on the left.
Got it. Kia ora, talofa lava, tēnā koutou katoa. A warm Pacifica greetings from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Hi everyone, I'm Suli. I'm a Kiwi of Samoan descent. I am a vegan fiction author. Animal Voices was my first book, published in 2019, and my latest book, A Silent Knowing, published 4 months ago, and I'll mention more about them later. Cheers.
Beautiful. Ondine.
Hi everybody, I'm Ondine, and I started an animal advocacy organization about 18, 19 years ago with my dad, and have been running that for all these years. And at the same time, I got really passionate about writing, and in particular, including all my love of animals and desire to protect them from suffering into a young adult trilogy. I've got the actual physical books. I've got Sky, Snow, and Star. And yeah, I absolutely love the creative process and speaking to young people. And yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have everyone together. And of course, I'm your host, Jackie. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I am so grateful to be in the presence of such wonderful authors and advocates, and I can't wait to share your stories and what makes you all so unique with everyone. So Ondine, I'm gonna go straight back to you and dive in. So some of our viewers may already be familiar with Ondine's story through our Vegan FTA Activist series and podcast, but for those who aren't, Ondine started her journey as an author with her memoir, The Miracle of Love. We will give everybody links to everybody's websites and social media so you can learn more about those as well. But when Ondine's daughter was a toddler, she felt as though her life was complete. She was married to a man she adored, still is, had a lovely extended family, and was living her dream of creating meaningful change for the animal, having set up the animal advocacy organization Voiceless with her beloved father, Brian, as she mentioned just before. Delighted to find she was pregnant again, she was shocked to find out that she was having twins, but never in her wildest dreams could she have envisaged the challenges to come when her precious sons were diagnosed with a rare genetic condition, which meant they may never walk or talk. After such an incredibly raw and moving memoir, you really spread your literary wings, Ondine, by launching into writing fiction shortly after with your first novel, Sky. The focus of today's roundtable is, of course, fiction and becoming a fiction author. I'd love to know what it was that led you to writing fiction after publishing and processing the whole process of writing your memoir.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Yeah, I kind of launched into writing through, I guess, trying to process, some really difficult things that were going on in my life, and, come to terms with the whole journey I was having with my two beautiful boys. And so I started writing this memoir and spent many years working on it. And I came to realize that, I guess, writing any book, even if it's a, autobiography there's a lot of creative process in it. And one of the things that I love doing in my memoir was like creating scenes and dialogue between, characters, even though they were real characters. And when I finished that, I was like, oh, I don't want to stop writing. And how can I combine writing with my passion for animals? And something that I always felt really strongly about was young people and the power of youth to create change. And I guess thought back to myself when I was younger and how isolating in many ways it felt to be at that time a vegetarian, kid growing up and not having people who I felt got me or understood me. So my main character that I started writing, and the kind of character I fell in love with, Sky, is a young vegan woman. She was 15 when I started writing. So yeah, so the book series was really combining what the passion that I found for creativity with my values and my desire to kind of reach out and engage young people and develop their love for animals.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so lovely to hear. And you've had such wonderful success in getting those stories and the voice into, even things like educational facilities, which, I'm always keen to talk more about. And with Sky and its eventual trilogy, which you showed us just before, we enter into a space far more suited to young adults and connecting with people in that much more innocent space. as opposed to sort of the hard truths of life, which we so often, you know, are encountered with in veganism. So you've spoken about, you know, what it was that drew you towards young adult fiction as your genre in the first place. And, you know, how have you been able to grow that in, you know, getting it to things like educational facilities, libraries, and that kind of thing? It seems to me to be a really, really good opportunity to, how should I say, you know, the young vegans are the future, aren't they? So it's, I think it's a wonderful way to, I shouldn't say get them young, does it? But, you know, start teaching them young.
Yeah,
you talk a little
we
bit
have to be strategic.
Yeah, I'm just,
yeah,
no subtle way of doing it.
I mean, there is a little bit of kind of strategy involved, because I think everyone knows that, you know, if you bring young people into a social change movement and into social justice issues, you know, young people can often be really idealistic, full of passion. They, you know, really dedicated to a cause, and they, you know, a little bit different to us as we get older and we get swamped with adulting, I think they call it now, the verb of all our responsibilities, and it's a bit harder. So yeah, I loved, and I remembered myself as, you know, a teenager. I used to go out protesting for animal rights, and went to, you know, protests against the duck hunting and fur protests. And yeah, I got up to lots of no good when I was in my teens. But yeah, the next step, and I guess this is the strategic part, and what I felt really strongly about running Voiceless, was education, and how important it is to get these messages, not messages as in we're trying to indoctrinate anybody, but critical thinking, and allowing young people to, you know, have access to information that they wouldn't normally, you know, think about. Because the reality is, in high schools and in primary schools in Australia, at least, the meat and dairy industries are in there with their programs and with their materials, and they're sponsoring prizes, and they're, you know, delivering content to teachers that are being used in the classroom. And the animal movement hasn't really, you know, it's been difficult to make an inroads into the education system. So it was really exciting that we could create teaching materials based on my books, and also based on other books, and get them being used in high school classrooms in Australia. And yeah, I feel that that's, yeah, really a good thing for groups and advocates to progress as much as possible. Getting all of our books, you know, being read and into school libraries is really important.
It's wonderful and so rewarding as well. And you put it so much more eloquently than I did. Thank you. I must apologize if I was a little distracted there before. It seems that I've had we have a concrete truck that's just pulled up outside our house, and so all the neighborhood dogs and everything. Perfect timing. Thank you so much. If anybody would like to learn more about Ondine's backstory and everything, by all means go to the Vegan FTA YouTube channel, where we interviewed Ondine last year, and it was a really wonderful discussion. So I can definitely recommend checking that out. Whitney.
Thank you.
As the author of the Black Magic series, you have been sharing the importance of connection with each other and the earth. I'm sure our other authors here today can agree that connecting with others is vital to sharing our message and spreading that joy. And we're all here now. A connection I just adore about your background story is that of Riley and, is it Toonie? Two pigs.
Yeah, it's short for Petunia.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Oh, I love that.
These are two beautiful pigs that you adopted from Farm Sanctuary and actually dedicated your first book to. And often when we think of connecting with others, we just sort of assume, you know, human animals. But I understand that this adorable pair have really helped you connect with your creativity. Would you like to share a little about this with our audience, and what Riley and Toonie mean to you, Petunia, should I say, and your writing?
Absolutely. I interned with Farm Sanctuary. I did an animal care internship back in 2011, I believe. And they had just come into the sanctuary when I started. So I met them when they were really little. And right before I left, I heard that they were planning to adopt Riley and Petunia out to someone. They had problems getting along with the other pigs because they were both very small. And so they wanted to send them someplace where they could have space to themselves and not have to feel threatened all the time. And the more I thought about it, I just knew that I wanted to bring them home with me. Like I just thought that was something that I could do to like make a difference in their life, because where I live, we have like all kinds of land, and I was like, this is just a thing that I need to do. So I think it was 5 or 6 months later, Farm Sanctuary brought them to my house. We had to build a barn and a fence and all of that, and they brought them to me. And we actually lost Riley Pig about 2 weeks ago. He was about 12 years old, which is older than I was told to expect them to live, actually. But Petunia is still doing really well, and they've been a major impact on my life. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. And lucky them getting to come and live with you and getting a barn and everything built especially for them. So with Ondine, we were talking about how she was drawn to young adult fiction as her genre. With the Black Magic series, who did you have specifically in mind when you were creating the series?
I guess just adult. I don't know. I usually tend to write characters that are somewhere around my own age, just because I feel like those are people that I understand better. So I guess 20s, 30s ish.
I love it. Well, we will give everybody links to where they can find out more about you all and your books and everything. So it's wonderful. Rae Starr, I have seen you all over the place. And you've been very prolific with your writing. And I think one question that all of us as authors ask ourselves is, can I do this full time? Writing is wonderful. It's cathartic. It's inspiring. It's rewarding. But, there comes a time where we're like, this is great. This is fun. I'm really enjoying this. I don't, can I do this full time? Maybe could I actually quit my job and become solely an author? And this is such a difficult question to answer, because to say yes means taking an incredibly big leap of faith. But then to say no, that can lead to dampening that creative fire that we have within us, and living sort of restrained and frustrated that we can't give our all to the thing that we love doing and for the cause that we're working towards. So thankfully for our aspiring authors out there and the already published writers as well, Rae, you have battled this question and successfully made that leap. In order to help us with our answer to these questions, I'd love to know, what was it that led you to close your business to pursue writing vegan fiction?
Oh, what a question. I'm so glad that I did it, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's been hard. It's not been easy, because my previous business had a very successful PR business that paid my mortgage, paid all my bills, all the life stuff, it covered all of that. And then lockdown happened and I couldn't work, and I began writing the story and everything, and I realized how much I loved it and how much I enjoyed it. And sorry, I'm speaking quietly, my kids are asleep in the next room, and if I wake them, this is over. I've got to go. So sorry, I'm speaking so quietly. But yeah, and I don't know, I just thought, wow, this is what I want to do. I feel like I was meant to do this, but how can I make enough money from this where I can still pay for my house and all the stuff? So it was a really scary thing to do, to go from earning what I used to and then knowing I would be earning, well, nowhere near as much, but I'm so glad I made that jump. And I'll admit, I don't earn what I used to now, but I'm happy. I'm so much happier. And I know the money will come in time, and like I'm doing something now that isn't about the money. I feel like I'm doing this and I'm making a difference, and that means more to me than anything that I ever did in my previous business. That's not to say you can't make money from this, because you can, but you can't rely just on book sales. So you have to do the school visits, you have to do the community visits, you have to do the events. Ironically, a lot of people write books because they're quite introverted like me. I'm a bit of an introvert, and I thought I wouldn't have to worry about public speaking or anything like that. Boy, was I wrong. You've got to get used to all of this kind of stuff as well. But the more you do it, the more fun it is, the more you enjoy it, the more amazing people you meet. Like now, these amazing people here that I'm speaking with, that we're all speaking with, it's all just been part of this amazing journey. And I owe it all to veganism. Like finding my vegan path was the best thing that I ever did. And I hope my books in some way just might inspire some other people to take their step on that path as well. I know not all of my not all of my readers will go vegan, but it might just be that light switch moment, that then leads into that further down the line. And that's that's enough for me. That I'm glad I made this jump.
Absolutely. It's about sowing those seeds, isn't it? It's wonderful. And thank you for your honesty. And I think it's a very good point. You know, certainly in my process, when I wrote my first couple of books, it was, you know, I did it I thought it would financially get me out of a hole, which was completely the wrong reason for doing it. You know, as it turned out, I ended up creating books that I was really proud of. And I'm so glad that I did it. But it was, I thought I would instantly be like J.K. Rowling or Marian Keyes, or, you know, really famous, prolific, wealthy author. And I'm still waiting for that to happen. So I think that's a really good point. And thank you. And you've certainly been nailing it with the public speaking, going around places as well, because that is probably why I've seen you all over the place. But
you've just got to get used to it. It's one of them things, like it's so daunting at first, the first time you do it. But like I say, you can't just rely on book sales on their own. If you want to do this as a career and you want it to cover your bills and all the stuff, and it to be an actual job, writing the books isn't enough. You've got to do the whole caboodle. And at least there's so many other things as well. So I'd recommend it to anyone. It's a great job to have.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you for sharing. And I just had it in the chat before, someone has had to leave, but wanted to know if a recording would be available. And yes, this is being recorded, and it will be made available widely afterwards as well. So no problem there. As some of our viewers may have picked up upon, Ray, your book titles share the names of iconic documentaries in our movement, such as Earthlings and Dominion. I'm still waiting to read Dominion. It hasn't arrived in New Zealand yet, but I'm so
we have post issues over here in UK at the moment.
I believe so. But in regard to creating your titles and writing the books around that, was there a strategy behind choosing the titles that you did?
Definitely. So I had the title of the book and the main character of my books before I actually wrote the story. I just knew I was going to have this magic-based girl in a world that was going to be our own, but in reverse. And I knew I had to name the books after the documentaries that helped me go vegan, because then I thought, if my book doesn't make someone vegan, hopefully they'll Google my book, the documentary will come up, you know, they'll see that Joaquin Phoenix is in it and all the stuff. They'll have a little look. And then if you watch Earthlings, I don't know anyone in the world that's watched that movie and isn't vegan. If you ever want someone to go vegan, just sit them down in front of Earthlings and that's it, done. Same as Dominion and Land of Hope and Glory, which is my third book. Not as many people know of. It's a UK-based one by Ed Winters and then Surge Movement. But I don't know about anyone else. When I first went vegan, I'd see these documentaries, but in the back of my head, I'd think, but that doesn't happen in this country. That doesn't happen over here. And then Land of Hope and Glory made me see that that's so not the case. So if anyone here in this group or watching this on replays from the UK, Land of Hope and Glory is definitely one to watch. But it was just a form of kind of sneaky activism, just another little way to hopefully make some more vegans.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It was great move, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing with us, and really looking forward to completing the rest of the trilogy. Suli, I would love to come up to you in Auckland there. And a part of what makes or breaks a writer is the ability to share part of themselves with their chosen audience. Even in works of fiction, we are sharing our interpretations of fantasy worlds like Whitney and Ray. We are sharing how we truly see events unfolding through the lenses of the characters that we create. In your most recent book, A Silent Knowing, you've created a heart-wrenching narrative about the life of Black, a voiceless family pet who, like millions of animals, suffers from domestic violence. This incredible story transports the readers directly into the heart of family conflict and violence. It's been truly enlightening for myself to read your books and your blogs. I love your blog, and gain some insight into Pacifica culture around food and animals, even while exploring fictional scenarios. Your beautifully crafted writing brings a spotlight to the experience of Pacifica women and living in a culture where, as you wrote in one of your wonderful blogs, you needed to stay out of trouble and not publicize your empathy. As someone who's now empowering that compassionate voice among Pacifica women, have you found it liberating to be able to share your culture through the platform of writing fiction?
Now I do as an adult. I'm a Kiwi of Samoan descent, as I mentioned before. I grew up in Aotearoa, New Zealand, with migrant parents from the South Pacific Islands of Samoa. And it wasn't easy. It's never easy anyway for any migrant to a new country, especially for children like myself. And growing up in the 60s and 70s in the Pacifica community and culture, veganism wasn't a thing. It wasn't anywhere near my world. And all I knew was that I had a deep sensitivity for animals and empathy that no one else around me had. Meat was meat. Meat was sustenance, and meat was as necessary as oxygen and the Bible. So, but for me, meat was an animal, and I loved animals. In the 60s and early 70s, people could purchase live poultry for their own use and for Pacifica family and cultural events such as weddings, funerals, and church gatherings. My father and uncles would set out early in the morning and bring home the largest pig they could buy from the pig farms. And the knives would come out, literally, and the pig's frantic squealing would begin. And that was my cue to escape the murder scene and to hide in my bedroom at the front of my childhood home, far away from the ear-splitting squeals, echoing throughout our neighborhood and from our backyard. So as a child, I suppressed my empathy for animals in order to participate in my Pacifica traditions of mandatory meat dishes. And I grew up pretending not to know. And this created a writer and an outlier in me. Throughout high school, I'd enter writing competitions and win. And my stories almost always involved animals as the companion, hero, or victim, and no one noticed. And I don't think I was even aware of it at that time. I became very good at suppressing yucky feelings right up to my 40s. So why do I talk about being a first-generation Kiwi Samoan in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Because this is my origin story, and I want to speak to any young Pacifica, any young person whose culture doesn't share their empathy for animals, their desire to end suffering and exploitation of animals. My message to them is that you can make the change. Unlike when I was growing up, you can be vegan and you can do vegan. Now in the 21st century, veganism is a thing and you can be part of the vegan future. So I am first and foremost vegan for the animals. And as I mentioned before, my self-imposed disconnect was reignited through an event at work. And a whole heap of things happened which launched me into veganism, but also writing my first book, Animal Voices, published in 2019, and A Silent Knowing, published 4 months ago. So that's it, yeah.
Oh, beautifully said. Thank you so much. And yes, it's wonderful, everything that you're doing. And I would, I'd love to know in A Silent Knowing, you shed light on so many things that are not usually written or spoken about, or for some people even thought about, from the animal's perspective of domestic violence. I mean, as humans, we are not the only victims of domestic violence. It's pets, companion animals are always, deeply affected, that people just don't realize as well. But shedding, light on domestic violence, talking about that as well is so valuable. How's your book been received in the community?
All kinds of mixed messages. I've received all kinds of feedback, but I really value the feedback that I'm getting from my own Pacifica community. It's such a taboo topic. And when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, domestic violence was all around me in my community, but it was never addressed. It was never talked about. And that's something that's always stayed with me. I wrote this book, A Silent Knowing. It's about a dog who's adopted into a toxic, dysfunctional family. And the story is narrated through his voice. And we experience life on edge, as I experienced with a few uncles. I experienced domestic violence, and my readers are experiencing it through Black, the pet dog in this family. So with Black, we duck and weave our way over 12 months of his life with this family. Yeah, and I've received really good feedback, and I'm heartened by it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for giving both Black and this issue a voice as well. And I think it's one of those things, you know, as I said at the start of this event, you know, we've all overcome some kind of adversity or other. And I think, you know, it's that whole thing. Yes, it makes us stronger, but I think we all go through these things for a reason, because, you know, look at how everybody is you know, using that, channeling that now to help others. And it's so wonderful. I'm just, yeah, so glad to have you all here today. And last but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, my wonderful neighbor, Maya. We've got Maya here and her Liberation Trilogy, who has also been part of our Vegan FTA activist series, and is a close friend of our organization and the YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen Maya's interview before, a lot has happened since then, but you can learn a lot about her backstory and everything there as well by going to the Vegan FTA YouTube channel and looking on the activist series for MC Ronan. Maya and I actually live a short distance from one another. We don't see each other anywhere near as often as we should. And I thought that I knew her pretty well. But when we met up in person recently, just the other day, actually, I was really shocked to learn what she had overcome before making her dream of being an author a reality. I understand, Maya, this isn't something that you've ever shared publicly before, but are ready to talk about it now. So are you able to share with us why it's been such a personal triumph for you when your first book, The Shed, Epic, was published?
Yeah, thank you. And wow, Suli, I just have to say, whew, what a story, amazing. Yeah, so when I published The Shed in 2018, it was a real triumph for me, not just because, you know, I remember holding the book for the first time and feeling such an elation, not just because it was the first vegan fiction book that I knew of, and I'm sorry, ladies, but I did not know about your books. So I thought, oh my God, that's the first vegan book in the world. It wasn't, but I didn't know. But you know, my books all end up with, all my books end up with a call to action. All of them, past and future. And so this is the only book I knew of that ended with the words "Go Vegan." I never knew about of other books like that. So I felt, wow, I did something amazing here. But there is another story which I'm going to share here, and I haven't shared this before. So 19 years ago, I was pregnant with my first child. Can't believe it was 19 years ago, but there you go. Time flies. And it was a high-risk pregnancy from the get-go. I have a very aggressive autoimmune condition. Wish I was vegan then, because probably this would not have gone so bad, but I wasn't, not for a while, not until 2012. And this was 2004. And I started deteriorating really, really hard towards the end of the pregnancy. And so much so that my son had to be delivered in an emergency cesarean. And he is fine. He is my precious, precious boy. But I kept deteriorating. And after he was born, because my brain just didn't click that the baby was out. I have such a condition that attacks my own body, autoimmune. So because I didn't go through the whole pregnancy things, the whole process, my brain just didn't figure out that there's no baby in anymore. So maybe chill a little bit. Basically my brain shut down. I had a massive seizure, and later my husband told me that they just put my son on him, the baby, and said, and everything went mad at the hospital. You know, all the doctors, all the obstetricians came. It was just mayhem. And to save my life, I was going basically flatlined. So my husband told my baby boy, who was only 5 days old, it's just you and me, buddy. But it wasn't so. I lived through it and I came on the other side. They expected me to be in hospital for months after it, but I was so determined to go home and be a mother to my baby boy that I left after 5 weeks. But what happened is that because of the seizure that was so immense, so basically my whole body shut down, everything, all my kidneys, my liver, and my brain, everything. The only thing that saved me was that my heart was strong enough and they brought me back. And when I recovered, when I opened my eyes for the first time after that in hospital, I just realized that I could function, I can walk, but my language, the language center in my brain didn't work. Yeah, I was not born to speak English, but English is my first language, not my mother tongue. And I remember the moment when the nurse walks into the room and she talks to me in English, obviously, and I want to answer. And I can't find that. I know what she's saying, I understand, but I can't reply because I can't find the words. The words are gone. English was gone. And I was really terrified that I will never speak English again. And so later, I mean, it took a while, but I regained the language back. And so, you know, you wouldn't know, but sometimes even when I talk, because it's so instantaneous, I lose words sometimes. So you won't be able to tell because I learned how to trick you to think that I'm saying what I meant to. But sometimes I want to say something completely different, but I have to circle around and find some other word and use that instead. But it doesn't bother me when I write, because writing, you can spend more time and really say what you want to say and take your time to write. But I just thought this would be quite an inspiring story to finally share with the world. I never spoke about it before, because really it shows that you can go through something really horrible, or, you know, medical, or lose yourself and still come out winning on the other side. So for me, holding the shed was amazing, because it was a real win for me over that, you know, deep. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. Crikey, you think you know a person, Maya. What an absolute triumph for you. And I can't imagine what that must have felt like to hold your first book like that, and to go on and write many more. And I know that there are still plenty more up there in that amazing creative brain of yours. So I'm so glad that we have you in our movement, and I'm so glad that you came out the other side and you know, stronger in every way now more than ever. Thank you. I have to say, you know, you are very much yourself in everything that you do. And an element that's so important on and off the page as an author is being authentic to your true self. In the author profile on the back cover of your book, you are very clearly and deliberately referred to as a vegan and as an activist, which we love. Why was that so important to you? To, you know, some people sort of stay away from the V word, or heaven forbid we be described as activists, but you very much wanted both on there. Why was that?
And I respect everyone's decision to not do that. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own style. But for me, going vegan in 2012 has been the most powerful thing that I could do. And I became also an animal rights activist. So I organize vigils and marches and all sorts of things in Wellington for years now. And writing has become part of my activism as well. It's an outreach tool. It's a way to spread the message, like Ray said so eloquently. So for me, being vegan is part of my identity. I can't unpick veganism from myself. And I want people who pick up my books to know it and respect it. I mean, it's funny because people say, oh, don't do it because people won't read your book. And it's not true at all. People have a lot of curiosity, I think, when they see that the author is vegan. Well, what does it mean? Because the book it's just a thriller. You know, my books are all like dystopian thrillers, and they are very fast paced. You can't put them down. Everyone will enjoy. I always say I write for everyone. I write for all readers, vegans, pre-vegans, anti-vegans, everyone. But being vegan and an activist is part of who I am. So it's part and parcel of what I write and how I write as well. So I mean, I'm expecting people who pick up the books to respect that and know it. And, you know, if you feel like it's not for you, to, you know, if you feel like, okay, this author, yeah, then yeah, it's fine. Let's part as friends. You don't have to read my books. But I was myself surprised that this was not here you go, Wood, where are you? It never stopped people from reading my books, and I have a lot of comments and feedback, and people write to me to say thank you for making the penny drop, and I'm going to share it now with all my friends. So it's gone. It's good.
Oh, that's wonderful. What better result can we have than that? And I've loved listening to all of you, and you know, what a diverse, wonderful group that we have here. There really is, like Maya said, I mean, it's impossible not to like her books, quite frankly, but you know, if there is someone out there that wasn't, you know, didn't resonate with that genre, we have got something here for everyone, and we'll definitely make sure that we share everybody's social media and websites and where you can find out more. I know there have been questions from people that want to know where to get the books from, so we'll definitely do that. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to share them in the chat, and we will get these amazing souls to answer them. Whitney, I was just wondering if I could go back to you, and Maya's already touched on this point quite nicely, which is very helpful. But, you know, at Vegan FTA, we strive to open up the means for vegans to be their best activist selves in finding forms of advocacy that truly resonate with themselves as individuals and match their skills. So with this roundtable hosting a group of not just authors, but formidable activists, I'd love to know more about how you feel about fiction writing yourself as a form of activism in a movement where we're up against such hard truths. Do you find this to be an effective way to sort of soften the hard blow of reality? What's your experience been?
I hope so. That's always been my goal with my books. I tried to kind of start out slow with it a little bit. Like the first book, it was just kind of mentioned a little bit. And then as the books go on, I wanted to include more animal rights issues and more mentions of veganism and more mentions of like our effect on the earth and how damaging our current society can be to humans and the planet and the animals. I hope that people might start reading it, get interested in the story, and then start to connect the themes that are sort of hidden a little bit, I guess. So I hope it'll have an effect on people.
Sorry, that was me chatting away. I've been trying to drown out the concrete truck. But I think it's wonderful. It's such an effective form of advocacy, as Suli said before, I believe. You know, it's a way where, and Ray as well, you can be a little bit sneaky. You know, you can be bold and out there, or you can be a little bit sneaky, and in order to get the result that you want and encourage that penny to drop in all ages, which is what you're all doing, which has been so wonderful. I've just shared everybody's websites and handles and things like that in the chat if anybody would like to go and find out more about any of our authors, and please feel free to ask any questions. I don't think that we've really talked about, and it's something that people are always interested in what it was that you know was the catalyst for you all to go vegan in the first place. So Ondine, it's been a while since you've been waiting so patiently. Would you like to share with us?
Sure. Sorry, that was my chair. I went veggie at age 7, and you know, that was back in well, to give away my age, what year was that? It was early 80s. And at that time, I don't think anybody knew the word vegan. It just wasn't a thing. So being vegetarian in my world was quite shocking for people. It's just similar to, I guess, a kid today. For the younger people in the audience, a kid today saying that they're vegan. So I kind of, spent like my life being vegetarian and started my organization. And I actually cannot believe that I went as long as I did without switching to veganism. And it took me so long. But I think, as I mentioned, there were quite a few things going on in my life, and to be kind to myself and encourage other people to be kind to themselves. Sometimes, we can't be as perfect and as we want to be. So it was a no-brainer, I guess, for me to go vegan. We were doing a report at Voiceless into the dairy industry, and I was like, oh my God, like immediately dairy out, eggs out, fish out, so it was, that was, how many years? Like about 9 years ago now. So it's, yeah, I just, I should have been vegan from the start. That's how I feel. And I can't believe I wasn't. So it wasn't even a question. It was more just applying my value into my day-to-day life, with 3 kids under 3 and, the challenges of special needs kids and moving countries 3 times. So those are all my excuses, but yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. And your achievements have been absolutely incredible. If you haven't checked it out before, Ondine spoke at the start about the organization that she began with her father, Voiceless. Oh. Is it voiceless.org, Ondine?
.org.au.
Yeah. Please check it out. Their work is amazing.
Yeah, there's lots of resources and educational materials if there's any teachers out there. And lots of stuff that people can download.
Be warned, you may want to, become a lawyer and get involved in animal law, because that's what happened to me when I spoke to Ondine at length as well and checked out Voiceless. But I think
I have to do a shout out to Katrina Sharman, who I think she's here in the audience, and she was the first animal lawyer in Australia, our first hire at Voiceless. Yes. And she was part of our organization for many, many years and did amazing work. She's now living in the US. So I don't know if she's still lurking around in the background there. Katrina, are you here? Thank you, Ondine. Okay, yes, she's there. Katrina basically kickstarted like the animal law movement in Australia and really got animal law going as part of universities and people studying it and practicing it. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Well, Katrina.
Thank you, Katrina. Lovely to see you on here.
Katrina.
That is very cool. I think all of us, you're amazing achievers as authors as well, but let's face it, like a lot of women, you're all juggling multiple things. Ray is juggling children as we speak. Ray, would you like to share with us your experience about, publishing in a vegan genre? I know, it's not my story to share today, but in the when I published our vegan books, it was through a mainstream publisher. And for me, this turned out to be a rather interesting exercise, because we were treated, we didn't know at the time until after, but we were treated as an experiment, which we didn't really appreciate. How has your experience been of this?
Oh, there's so many different avenues I can go down to answer this question, and I don't want to be talking for ages, so I'm going to try and stay focused. But it's been a real mixed bag for me. So when I first started, I did the typical route of applying for literary agent, but because I was honest about what my book was, and it was, so The Earthlings world is the world as we know it now, but in reverse. So rather than humans being at the top of the food chain, animals are, and we're in the place with the milking mothers, with a steak, with the legs, the chop, and all the rest of it, but in a child-friendly way. So, which sounds insane, but had to make it child friendly. It can be made child friendly. But yeah, so if you can imagine everything that we do to animals in the real world, animals are now doing that to us. And there's a young girl named Peridot who is magic born, and she has to decide whether to use her powers to help animals or humans, or can she help them both, which is kind of the message to the story. But yeah, it's a vegan message. So when I was applying for literary agents, I was honest. I said it was a vegan message. So obviously no one wanted me. No one was interested. And then I'd been waiting for about 3 months, and I don't know why, but I just had it in my head that if I didn't publish my book, someone else would have written something really similar, because how could no one else have thought of this story? Like, surely someone else has done something like this before. So I rush published and I self-published. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with self-publishing, but I didn't have a big following, so nobody knew about my book. I self-published and maybe sold couple hundred copies, and I was devastated because I love my stories. I believe in my stories. I believe in Peridot, my main character. She's really, really important to me. And I was so deflated. I just thought, oh, well, shouldn't have closed my business. But then an indie publisher, funnily enough, reached out that I'd applied to previously, and said like she found me in her junk mail and was really interested in the story. And I ended up republishing with an indie publisher, Kronos Publishing. Taryn, if you're watching, hi, thank you. I love you. I wouldn't have any of this without you. And the moment I had that publisher's name on my book, all the inquiries I'd sent out previously to bookstores, to media, and all the stuff, everyone came back to me. It was like being on Trusted Trader. Like, just because you've got that publisher name on your book, it's like a stamp of approval. Like, yes, all right. Do you know what I mean? And then everyone started coming back to me. And then that was when it went from a couple of hundred sales to a few thousand, and where we are now. So I'm really, really lucky in that respect. But when you publish, if you publish a vegan book, so my path's been really different to Maya's actually, and it's really interesting hearing your point of view on that, Maya. So it's nice to know that it works both ways, because obviously using the V word for me was to my detriment. It didn't work in my favor. So when we published, we went ahead and published it as climate fiction. It's not climate fiction, it's vegan fiction, but people care about the climate. People care about sustainability. That's like the trendy word at the moment, isn't it? Even if people aren't sustainable, it's really annoying. So I've kind of avoided using the V word, even though I am a very passionate vegan and my books have a vegan message and my books are vegan, because I want to draw in non-vegans to read my book. As much as I want vegans to read my book, I want non-vegan people to read my book, to have the light bulb moment and to start making changes. It's the whole reason I wrote the story. So I've had to step away from saying that it's vegan, even though it is vegan, if that makes sense. But moving on from where we are now, like with this roundtable, I don't know if it's something that the other authors have noticed as well, but vegan literature, it's not a genre. It's not a thing. If you wanted to list your book as vegan fiction or vegan non-fiction, in the UK anyway, you can't. It's not a genre. So I'm actually working at the moment with a private group called, oh God, what are they called? Oh, it's really embarrassing. I will remember and I will put it in the chat. But they're yeah, I'm trying to get private. My author is just, my memory is just shocking. But yeah, we're trying to get vegan fiction and vegan non-fiction listed as actual categories, both on Amazon and in bookstores and things, because sometimes when you search for vegan books, all that comes up is cookbooks or like the really major bestsellers that everyone knows about. And the lesser known titles, I class myself as a lesser known title, they get swallowed up because vegan fiction and vegan non-fiction isn't like a known thing, even though there's clearly lots of us vegan authors out there. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, is trying to get that as an established actual genre within publishing, which is very exciting. So fingers crossed. And then we don't have to hide that we have vegan books anymore.
That is exciting. Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your hard work in that area. And thank you for sharing your experience as well. I could talk to all of you all day about this, you know, so many questions. I think I would love to know from Suli, and if anyone has any questions, we do still have time, so please pop them in the chat. But Suli, I'd love to know, as someone who has, you know, it's taken immense bravery to speak out on all the issues that you have in the way that you have. So I've got the other neighbor on the other side started hammering. Would you believe it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning? And I would love to know, Shirley, in nice, peaceful Auckland, what advice do you have for aspiring writers or people who would like their voices to be heard through publication?
Don't. Yeah, I would say for those who want to write vegan fiction, what keeps you up at night? What's the change that you would like to see in the world? What upsets, worries, or infuriates you? And whatever that thing is, whether it be animal exploitation, deforestation, speciesism, this is the word I can never pronounce, intersectionality, whatever it is, whatever the thing is, write about it. Create a story around it and let that upset, worry, and anger fuel your writing. Vegan fiction is fun and furious. It's writing on purpose for a vegan future. So I'm really excited about vegan fiction in the future. Just do it. That's my advice.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And Ray has remembered the private group that she was trying to think of down in the chat is the Society of Authors. So there we go. Mystery solved. I guess all that remains really, I know that Maya has something that she wants to share with us, which leads me nicely into the last question is where to with all of you from here? What is next? Maya, would you like to start?
So yeah, where next? I'm writing a new book. It will come out this year. And funny enough, Ray, it's a climate fiction. It's a proper climate fiction, but as with me, it will have a call to action, and it's for, front, back, and center about going vegan to save our own souls. But it's very hard hitting. It's still suspense, thriller, dystopia kind of, because this is my genre. Even if I tried, I don't think I could do anything else. I love kind of fast-paced and very thrilling, exciting plots. But this book is going to be very hard-hitting, and I don't even think it would have qualified for young adults, to be honest, because there are scenes there that will shock you, because the whole purpose for me was to show the collapse of social structure and morality and everything else. So it's very exciting. It will come out this year. I hope to publish it in September. So fingers crossed, everything goes right. And where after and it's just going to be a one-off, not a trilogy. I'm done with trilogies. That's it. But where next? Keep writing vegan novels, thrillers, and because I don't think I could ever stop. I don't think I could ever not write. So and if I write, it has to be a vegan fiction, because I can't write anything. It's just the only thing that gets me up in the morning to write. Is that it's the drive, it's the purpose. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. We're so grateful for you to have you in the movement and all your energy. Whitney, what about you?
I am working on the 5th book in my series, and that's probably going to be the last one in this particular series. I'm hoping to publish that one around October, hopefully. And after that, I've got a couple other stories that I've kind of been tossing around that I'll probably start. I don't know if I'll do another series after this. I'll have to see, but the 5th book is my main focus right now. So
fantastic, and 5 books is a very good,
well,
a very good achievement indeed, Craigie. Ondine, what about you?
I've been taking a little break from fiction writing, although I've been missing it a lot. I've been working on a PhD project looking at what influences someone to have animal rights and vegan values. And I'm reading so many interesting things and going to start interviewing people soon. And I feel like there's going to be a book coming out of that. And yeah, I'm kind of particularly passionate about looking at how people's experiences, like direct experiences with animals, can transform them, or to put it the other way, how animals can transform us through their kind of agency and power and influence over us humans. And yeah, I'd love to keep writing fiction, but it's on pause for the moment, and to continue hopefully very soon.
Wonderful. I know whatever you're working on, it's going to be epic, just like always. And thank you for everything that you do as well.
Thank you.
I've mentioned before, but do go and check out the Vegan FTA YouTube channel to see in-depth interviews with both Maya and Ondine as well. You will be blown away. We are in the company of such amazing women here this morning or this evening, wherever you are. Suli, I know you've just had a book brought out in 4 months ago, you said, but what do you have in the pipeline next? Is there going to be any more adventures?
Well, I have to get out there more and market the thing. So, which I'm not very good at, but that's a whole other round table, marketing your book, promoting it. But so I think that's what I'm concentrating on this year, or improving upon. But I'm also, oh my gosh, like Maya said before, you just can't stop. Once you finish, produce something, and then you start thinking about the next thing. And what's bubbling in my head at the moment is the ocean. I have a new baby granddaughter, and she's gorgeous, and her name is Oceana. So I'm thinking to do something about the ocean and sea creatures, and I'm going to try my hand at fantasy. I'm feeling the fantasy at the moment with Oceana as the sea warrior, or the defender of the sea creatures, especially the endangered sea creatures. So yeah, I'm playing with that idea at the moment and getting serious about marketing my new book. Yeah.
That is fantastic. How exciting. I love that concept. What amazing company you're in. Like,
yeah.
So fantasy writers. We've actually got a question here from Jackie, who says, Suli, your story is so beautiful and inspiring. Your book, A Silent Knowing, sounds amazing. I just checked on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, but it's out of stock. Do you know where the best place to get a copy might be? You must have done a better job at marketing your book than you thought.
On my website, sulywrites.com.
Wonderful. I've shared that in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jackie.
Right. And Ray, crikey, wow, I'm looking forward to Land of Hope and Glory. I'm looking forward to Dominion arriving in the mail. What do we have to look forward to with you coming up?
So yeah, I've got to finish Land of Hope and Glory. That's what I'm doing at the moment when my kids are sleeping. It's all in here. I've just got to get it down. But yeah, once that's finished, I've then got to do the prequel. So there's a scenario that happens in the Earthlings world that gives animals their voices. It's called The Changing, which is like Peridot's mother's story of how all of that happened. And that one is a bit more kind of climate based. But yes, I've got to write the prequel, which is Mum Valerfa's story, The Changing. After that, I want to write a duology based on the oppression of Indigenous people throughout the ages, with a focus also on the witch trials as well. And I also want to write some children's books as well. I haven't given up hope of getting a literary agent. And I know if I get a literary agent, that's when my books will go from where they are now to like boom, because as soon as you've got a literary agent, that's a game changer in the publishing world. You can see the authors that are absolutely smashing it and don't have to market their own books and all the rest of it, and it's all kind of done for them, are the ones that have got literary agents. So I do want one, and I think the right angle for me to use is children's books, where I teach in schools. I teach writing for nature workshops, which is great fun. They're actually vegan writing workshops, but again, we don't use the V word, or no schools have booked me, so they're writing for nature workshops. Sneaky. And then when I get to the school, they're like, oh, we didn't know you was going to talk about this. Very sneaky. But yes, I've got an idea in my head for Enviro Boy and Enviro Girl, and they're going to, fly around the world saving all different types of animals and stuff. So loads in here. I've just got to write it down, but lots of writing. Love writing. Just want to write.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Listening to you, I think I'm going to need to get me some more. I thought these shelves were enough behind me, but obviously not. I need to get some more bookshelves. But it's a perfect way, talking about how much you will love writing, to finish with a question from Shabari, who says, do you have any tips for budding writers to overcome writer's block? Whoever would like to share, you're welcome to jump in.
I'll jump in and say, I guess just from my perspective, I've been in quite a few writing groups and around budding writers over many years now. And I think I would guess, or what my feeling is that writing block comes from fear. And to overcome fear, you just have to do it. Like, just get words on paper. Don't think about it. Don't try and make it perfect. Don't expect it to be the final draft. And, like all those scenes in the movies are very deceptive, where someone like types all night and then they pull out their manuscript and they send it off to the publisher, and lo and behold, it's a bestseller. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You have to, like, writing is a craft and a practice, and you get better at it, and you just have to, like, words on paper, and don't think too much about it.
Love it. Thank you. Anybody else like to jump in with some tips?
Yeah, I don't mind saying. For me, sometimes to get inspired, I just need to spend time with the animals, either the cuddly ones, my dogs, for example, or the bunny who's right there sleeping. I've got a bunny. This is not my office. This is her office. But sometimes I need to go and stand outside the slaughterhouse to look into the eyes of the victims, just to remind myself who I'm doing this for. So really, it's getting the inspiration from the things that motivate me. And sometimes it's just being with my family and the people I love, and just reminding myself what really matters to me. It's okay to take a break and think about what you want to write about. I just wanted to tell everyone who wants to be a writer and publish their books that it takes work. And Suli talked a lot about marketing, and I also don't have an agent, and because I'm such a vegan, outspoken person, I don't know if I'll ever have an agent unless there's a vegan agent who want to work with me. But because of that, you need to put heaps of work, like ridiculous amount of work, into marketing your own books and doing things like going out there and speaking and doing public speaking gigs and all that Ray talked about before. Everything, it's like what Onding said, it rarely is that you write a book and it's like, woo, bestseller and J.K. Rowling. So just be ready to put in the hard work, and then, sky's the limit. Believe and trust in the universe and yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Can I just say, following on from what Maya said, find what inspires and motivates you. For me, it's animal suffering, and animal suffering is everywhere. I can find it easily online and on the streets when people are walking their dogs on piping hot roads. So animal suffering inspires and motivates me. Find what inspires you, because animal suffering moves my ass out of bed at 5 a.m. every morning to write for an hour before getting ready for my day job. I write for them. So who do you write for, and what do you write for? I think that that will help you. And take the breaks. Yeah, breaks are important. It's all good. Don't feel guilty. Take the breaks. I've taken years to write my books, and I've only got 2. So who cares? Just do it.
Good things take time. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add, or anything that I've neglected to mention? Everybody happy? Well, thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for your incredible contribution, for having the drive, the passion, and the intestinal fortitude to do everything that you've been doing. It's been a pleasure to have you here today, all of you, and I really look forward to reading all about and reading more of all your books. It's been really inspiring and making me want to get back into writing as well. It's been too long. Thank you everyone for joining us. I would love to particularly shout out to Yuko, who has been joining us since 4 a.m. this morning from Tokyo. Thank you so much, Yuko, for making the effort to come and join these wonderful women. It's been lovely to have you here. Thank you to Ray's kids for staying in bed so she was able to talk to us this whole time. And I've shared the social media and everything in the chat box. Everybody, I believe, is also on Instagram, Facebook. You've all got websites. So there is going to be a recording of this made available. So keep an eye on all these wonderful women, and we will let you know when it will be available. So on that note, I think it's probably a good time to wrap up before any more concrete trucks or hammering neighbours turn up next to me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Bye.
Enjoy your day.